Okay, I think I'm live. I don't know. I'm trying the OBS manage your stream functionality, which is built into the OBS app, and I don't know if it's working. So I'm gonna go. I gotta go to the website and or to the actual web page and look to see, and it does look to be working. So we do seem to be live. It is Monday, May 27th, 2024. Happy Memorial Day. Today, I think I'm going to just kind of work, not talk a lot, maybe talk a little bit. I mean, it's going to be super interesting, right? I mean, you're going to be super interested. What I'm working on now is I need a way for the data. So again, here we have North American.dat, right? This is all in the data. I'm going to close everything else. Close others. So we have this North American.dat file, and what I'm trying to figure out is eventually we will want the game to have like a United States.dat file, because this is where all the states would be in. The United States.dat file would contain all the states, but that also needs to be a separate file from North America, yet they need to be loaded as one unit. And to make it even a little more complicated is you have a parent-child relationship, because North America here on the left-hand side, which is in North American.dat, right? So this North American continent, and actually I misspoke. So the North American continent has subregions. We have a subregions thing here that I just added this morning. And then under that you have countries. And so if you look at the subregions of North America, you have this country, which is, of course, the United States. Now, the question is, how do I, in this United States, how do I make the map data of this, make sure it's a child of this element here? Now, I feel like I'm kind of like recreating the wheel. And to an extent, I'm sure I am, because I know I'm not the only person in the world that has had this issue. But I could use something like SQLite to kind of just put the data into a more relational, or a more like, SQL type database, and then just query the data. I did think about doing that. And then you have but then that gets kind of complicated, where if you want to start removing data or changing it, updating it, maybe that's actually not so bad. Do I have SQLite on this machine? Let's look. We're going to see if we have SQLite on this. I don't know if I have SQL. The DB browser is what I want. So what I'm thinking, let's just do new database. And we're just kind of spitballing here, right? We're not really committed to this yet. GeoSketch.db. So it's asking me for a table definition, right? So you would want a region. The first field of the region would probably be the primary key. The second, let's see, so that could be ID. No, I already don't like it, because then would you have all the regions in one big table, or would you have like so the reason I like this is I feel like this is a little more dynamic. I feel like an SQL database is a little rigid. So the thing here is, on the right hand side, I would have a United States.dat file, and we can fill it in a little bit, right? We can So you can see the AI is kind of like the AI kind of has an idea of what I want to do, but that's not quite what I want to do. So over here on the left hand side, I put region. So this region here, we could do this. So the region data corresponds. Okay, so I'm kind of making sure that what I have on the left hand side is also on the right hand side. So I have a region, I have a type. So the type here would be country. The name, of course, is United States of America. Description, which, I mean, you know, who needs a description for United States of America? We all know that. We can do factoids. Okay, and then now the big one. I'm going to indent these just because I feel like it's a little easier to read. And then you could have sub-regions, right? Sub-regions, which really are just states, but we want to keep the names kind of as a generic naming convention. Now, I know if I did this, we called it state, right? Back in our C++ code, I'm pretty sure we called these states. Let's look. Where is regions? Regions, CPP. Right, so we called it state here. So we'll call it state here because we want this type within the JSON to map to this region type here in the enum. All right, so the state, and then we always know Alabama is the first state, and then we can have a couple factoids about it. And you can picture that eventually maybe we'll want to have the counties of Alabama, right? And then we'll have to have this same type of parent-child relationship. So we got to keep that in mind when we're thinking about what solution we want to build. So I'm not going to define subregions of Alabama right now, but I am going to define another subregion of the United States of America, which will be type, state, and then Alaska, my personal state. We'll have a couple of factoids about Alaska, and we can leave it at that for now. But what you can imagine, though, is that this file here on the right-hand side would be like an expansion pack. I think I'm missing a bracket here. Is that it? No, something's wrong. Something's off. This one's here, so that one's there. I'm going to close that. That's good. This one is... Okay, that's the one that's off. Okay, cool. Region. Okay, I think we're looking good. Okay. So the thing you can see here with this region here, which of course is the region of North America, I put parent 0 to indicate that it has no parent. And then, well, I guess then the other statement then is by virtue of this region being within the subregions of this region, we know that North America is the parent of the United States. That is a pretty easy relationship to kind of program into the code that's loading everything. Now, the question is, when you're loading another file, basically what I want basically like this file on the right hand side to almost be included right here, right? I would almost like to have, and then subregions, and then you would have this subregions element. So we can remember that this region is the same as this region. Those are, for data purposes, those are the same thing. Now, my impulse, right? And sometimes you got to look at your impulse because it's a good your impulse usually points you in the right direction. It might not just give you the right vehicle, right? Like, you want to win a race, and your impulse is to go get in your car in the garage, but your car in the garage might be a 1993 Chevy Cavalier, which was my first car. But but maybe, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, I bought a Lamborghini a year ago. I mean, I didn't, but maybe you did, and you're thinking. So what I'm saying basically is your first impulse will often get you in the right direction, but it may not get you to your destination in the best way. So, but don't ignore your first impulse. So anyway, my first impulse, the whole point of that was, my first impulse was to do something like include and right. I mean, the AI even knows what I want, but it would be something like this. But this doesn't make sense. Ooh, although it could make sense. So I was thinking, this doesn't make sense because remember, the file on the left-hand side may exist, but the file on the right-hand side may not exist. So I was like, the reason I said, well, that doesn't make sense is because if you try to include something that doesn't exist, that could be an error. But we're writing the include. So maybe this is a perfectly reasonable solution, right? Like, you buy these data files. So when the database is loading this up, when the database is going through and it's loading up the data, it looks at this include. It says, okay, the subregions of the subregion, or I'm sorry, it would say something, maybe it should be something like this. Subregions. Like this. Right. So when the database is trying to load this up, it says, okay, I want to load the subregions for the United States. I need to include these files, right? You see, it's in an array, so that's a good idea. It could be one or more files, but in this case, we only have one file, the United States.dat. So it will go and it will look for United States.dat, and if it sees it, it will load it as a subregion of this. If it doesn't see it, then it'll just move on and carry on with its life. I think that's a good idea, actually. Captain Fandom Nerd, he has joined us, and he says, good morning. Thank you, sir. Good morning, Captain Fandom Nerd. It's a very subdued Monday. I did not drink last night, though, but I wanted to, but I didn't. I think today, after I finish this stream, I'm going to go to Home Depot and get a couple of things, and I'm gonna work in my garage. It is a kind of a cool day outside, like temperature-wise, and it's a little overcast, and it's supposed to rain on and off all day. So I think it would be a good day to kind of open up the garage door and like listen to the rain fall as I'm doing something in my garage. I'm going to build a birdhouse. I looked at the birdhouse last night. I went out there at around 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, I could build it right now, but I didn't want to. Usually, in my neighborhood, there are people in their garage working until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. They usually will see like a couple of garage doors open, or at least the lights on in the garage, and you can hear like, you hear the noises. But last night when I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could join them, and there was nobody else working. So I think this is a good idea. I think that doing it like this, and then what this can do, right? So then we would have Alabama. And so what if we wanted to include the counties? You could do subregions. Well, no, I don't want to include. Okay, subregions. Include Alabama.dat, right? And then the AI should be smart enough to know that I'm going to want subregions of Alaska.dat. And then this way, I don't have to come up with some funky syntax, which kind of would have been fun to do. At least for me, it's always fun to like create these new like syntaxes and just, You know, like how do I do, you know, a new way to do kind of things. But so I see that LDG Free the Net is in the chat room. I just see an empty space. So either he sent some like empty ASCII codes in his message, or he didn't say. Okay, FYI, yesterday I had to pop in and out because of work. I know you spoke to me a couple times. Sorry if I missed a response. No worries, no worries. I mean, I was just, you know, crying most of the day, just wondering why you didn't respond. But you know, it's no big deal. Okay. So I think this is a good design, right? If we just had the subregions, we have support for multiple subregions if we need it. In this case, subregions include. It did a string here. I mean, I guess there's no reason the include can't be either an array or a string, and we just have to look for it. I think this is good. The only thing I'm not crazy about is I do wish it was a little more dynamic. Like, now I'm starting to like this less because this does create a constraint. It creates the constraint that, let's say I want to split as an update to the game. Let's say I want to split the United States into two different data files because maybe, you know, you can buy like, let's just say you can buy the continental United States as one package, but then all the territories in Alaska and Hawaii as a separate package. So then suddenly now I have to know how many data files ahead of time, or I have to provide an update for North America.dat. My original idea was to just have the database iterate these DAT files and then just kind of figure out the parent-child relationships. So let's forget about the subregion. I'm going to leave the subregion text here, but let's forget about it for a second. So if the program goes through and it loads up North America.dat, and then it looks at, well, actually, this creates an interesting, actually, it's not too big. Okay, and then it loads up United States.dat. How could I say that this region here, right, is this region here? Now, we did write that entire equality operator. So we should be able to rely on that. We should be able to say, oh, this is a country. Oh, no, we can't. We can't rely on the equality operator because the country in here, I was going to say, because the country here doesn't have a parent, whereas the country object here would have a parent. But maybe we just put a, well, but then we did do this. We just said parent, right? Okay. It creates another little problem, which isn't too big of a problem, though. What if this United States.dat file is loaded first? This is an interesting problem. And often, but the thing is when you, I feel like, first of all, I'm not the first person to do something like this, I'm sure. But I can't think, and if anybody else can, please let me know, but I can't think of any kind of tool or loading mechanism that would, I mean, I'm sure maybe there is. I don't know a lot about databases. I mean, I know a fair amount about databases, but I don't know a lot about, I guess, schemas? I don't know. And like I said, you know, we could kind of, some of this stuff kind of would make more sense in an SQL type database, but the SQL solution seems very, very rigid. Like, because then the updates have to be little packages, but then the updates are going to have to update the .db file. Or can an SQL-like database be multiple files? Probably not. Can an SQL-like database be composed of multiple .db files that are treated as a single unit. Let's see what AI tells us. No. All right. So that answers the question. However, there are some strategies and techniques you can use to work with multiple data files in that way, in a way that might achieve similar attached database command. Interesting. Database linking and data synchronization. If you keep data in multiple databases synchronized, you might not need. Use ORM, object relational mapping. Some ORMs and database abstraction libraries can manage multiple databases and provide a unified interface to interact with them. This can be helpful in larger applications where multiple databases or logical partitioning. Instead of relying on SQLite to manage multiple database files as a single unit, you can logically partition your data across multiple databases and handle the coordination. No, I don't want to do that. I will say this seems like a interesting solution. You can now refer to the attached database using the alias OtherDB. No. Okay, because this... Unless there is a way to combine main and OtherDB into one. No, I don't think we're going to go down that route. Also, SQLite has the added complication of now you have well, it's not that big. I mean, I was going to say the added complication of using it as a dependency for your program, but that's not a terribly big deal. I wonder. The reason I'm kind of not moving away from the SQL solution right away is because I do like being able to just do select star, right? I feel like getting the data I want out of the database would be easier with SQL with queries than trying to write something like I haven't even figured out how I would do it in C++ yet, but in SQL it just kind of lends itself. Like I wrote a couple of scenarios, so let's go back to the scenarios I wrote before I started streaming. Like maybe I want all countries in North America, so and then I started coming up with some type of syntax, but let's ignore that. So that could just be select country from, yeah, look, I mean, this is select country from region where parent equals North America. Actually, you could just have a country database, right? Or, I'm sorry, a country table. And do something like this. Select star from country where parent equals North America. The countries are going to countries. All continents and countries of... Okay. Let's see what the AI comes up with for this. So this is all continents in country. So all continents, all right? So maybe you want to have a round of the game where you have to draw any continent. So we need all continents and countries of South America. So one round you could be drawing North America. The next one you're drawing Bolivia. The next one you're drawing Australia. The next one you're drawing... Oh, wait, no. Yeah, next one you're drawing Argentina, things like that. So let's see. The AI says select star from continent where name, union select star from country where parent equal. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the SQL, I'm kind of getting sold on the SQL a little bit more. The only problem is being able to merge data. When you get new data, and what I mean by merge data is like what I said, like let's go back to this here. So maybe the base game comes with the data on the left-hand side, but then you buy data on the right-hand side. Combining that into like a single data unit with an SQLite database, it's not a trivial thing. Whereas I was really hoping it would just be as simple as just putting a file in the file system, and then the database would just kind of figure it out. The database code to load the data would just kind of figure it out. So I don't know, though. I feel like I'm kind of at a crossroads here, right? And this is one of my biggest struggles with programming, even to this day. As long as I've been doing it for, which is a long time, one of my biggest struggles is indecisiveness. Like, which path is the way to go? The GeoSketch path, I mean, the JSON path would be easier for updating, but I feel like there's probably more work here. See how nicely I can do this. Well, what if we marry the two? What if this is how the data was presented or delivered? Maybe this is how it was. No. Okay, I have an idea. Okay, that's good. All right. Hear me out. The game itself, when it loads, what it does is it iterates the DAT files like I originally wanted, right? It'll look in the data folder for the DAT files. And then from that, it builds the database. So basically, there's this compiling. I probably shouldn't call it compiling, but maybe you can call it compiling. There's this compiling step where the game literally creates a SQLite database from the JSON files it has, and then during gameplay, it uses that .db file. Now, how long would that take? What's the user experience of that going to be like? I don't know. I can't imagine. There's not going to be a ton. I mean, there's going to, like, let's say you had data for all the. We're only going to go down to the county level. So let's say you had data for all the counties of all the states, of all the countries, of all the continents. You're talking a scale of thousands, right? Tens of thousands, maybe. There's like 100. There's like 220 some. Let's see. Let's ask AI. Counting all continents, countries, states, provinces, etc. of each country in counties of each state, province, etc. Okay, counting all how many are there? Counting all continents, countries, states of each country, and counties of each state province. How many are there? I'm guessing it's probably on tens of thousands scale at most. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 187, 50, 5,000. I'm going to say around. I want to say 12,000. 12,800. The numbers 1287 come to mind. Oh, no, a lot more. 7 continents, 195 countries, 4,875 states, provinces, 240. Wow. So we're talking about 250. Okay, so I was way off. So it's about 250,000. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that scales pretty big quickly. Okay, my estimation skills used to be phenomenal. Now they're not very good. Yeah. So this is saying, so if we go 250,000, so imagine there's 250,000 records that you have to load and then put into an SQLite database. It could take a little time. But then you think, okay, how often is a user going to have every single data file? Well, if the game's popular, maybe often. But then there's other things you can do, right? You can create a hash. You could store a hash somewhere. of like all the data files, so you only have to compile the DB file when something has changed. That's actually not a bad idea. Because think about it, like when you buy an update for a game, the game takes some time to update itself, right? That's not a bad idea. I like that idea. But here's another thing. I gotta contend with the fact. Do I like the idea because writing that step sounds fun? The step of taking the JSON and converting it into a DB file. Do I like that idea because that sounds fun, or do I like the idea because it's best for the program? And that's another thing I struggle with sometimes. Like, which is it? Am I being selfish and that's why I think it's a good idea, or do I think it's a good idea because it's practical? Let's see. Okay, all states of the United States. Let's see what AI comes up with for this. Select star from state. Yeah, where parent equals United States, and then all states of countries from North America. So all states of countries from North America. Select star from state where parent in select star. Yeah, so the SQL lends itself to this type of selection process that we're ultimately going to want to do. I think we're kind of settled on it. I think maybe that's the way to go. We use the JSON to deliver the data, but then we use an SQLite database to actually load the data. Does that make sense? Can I do a poll? It would be best to do a poll with let's see, participant timestamps, reactions, pop out chat. How do I do a wait? Is this engage with your audience? Start a poll. Okay. I've only got a couple of viewers, but is my JSON to SQLite idea the way to go? All right. Yes or no? No. I don't want to add an option. Okay, start the poll. All right. Okay, so we'll see. So again, the idea that I'm kind of coming up with is the data would be delivered as JSON files. It would be compiled into a .db file, and then that way the program could actually use SQL queries to actually determine what the user is going to be selecting from, or what the user is going to have to draw. And then this could because what I want is, I know we don't have it in the game right now, but what I really want is I want some way for users to be able to say, like, I want to play a game where I'm drawing all states from North America. Right now we don't have that. Right now, the way the game works, it's just very generic. It's very, well, right now it doesn't work at all with the data. Like, go Bolivia. But then there's another thing that we have to remember. And one thing we haven't even really touched upon yet in this entire process is there's going to be another data field, right? And I don't even know what it looks like yet, but there's going to be a data field where you, for the map, right? Because the user is going to be drawing the map, so we're going to have to be able to tell the user how close they got to drawing the map. So we're going to have some type of map data. And actually, that's not a big deal. Well, let me back up. This is slightly crooked, so it's bothering me. It's not a huge deal. The storing that data is not a big deal, right? Because we could either do it as we could do it in JSON as a base 64 data blob. Excuse me. And then in SQLite, I'm pretty sure that they also have just if you add something, I'm sure blob is one of them. Yes, blob. So we have ways to store arbitrary binary data. It doesn't even necessarily need to be binary, but we have ways to store arbitrary data in SQLite and ways to get it from JSON into SQLite. So maybe that's not a big deal. And that means that you would have here, so let's see, you would have here, you would have something like, what could we call it? We could call it map data, right? Let's just encode some base 64 data. Like, let's just say, right, and then we'll just create a bunch of it. Oh, no. Okay, and then we encode it, and then we got the base 64 here. Right. And this is essentially what it would look like, right? You just have a big long string of base 64. And then that would get populated into the database itself. I think that's a good way to go. That's going to be a lot of work, though. Like, we haven't even got it started. Like, there is like an entire aspect of this game we haven't even started, and I've touched upon it here, and it's this map data. Like, there's going to need to be a way to generate the data. We're going to have to do, like, there is still a lot of work to do on this game. And yeah, I mean, you know, maybe they'll get done in like 10 years. I would actually like to finish it sooner, because I think this is something that I think it's something that would sell. I mean, obviously it would need to be like, the UI would have to look nice and it would have to work, but I think it's something that would probably sell. At least some people, you know, you always see these people playing GeoSketch, and there's a lot of like people that enjoy geography based games, and that's definitely what this is. So if we look at what AI kind of came up with for us, let's look at this. So select star from countries. I mean, so I mean, we would have different tables. So let's just kind of play around with the schema a little bit. Let's just kind of, okay. I'm going to delete these. Delete. Delete. Okay. Well, actually, no. Let's stick with my idea of going with the schema. Okay. Let's look at the JSON. So we would have, do we want to have one monolithic regions table, or do we want to have, oh, what's going on here? Give me a second, guys. Okay, there we go. So the question then, because do we want to have a big monolithic regions table, or do we want to split them out into multiple tables, like continent table, a country table, a state table, and a county table? I think that's probably the way to go. But there's gonna be a lot of, but the reason I'm kind of hesitant is there's gonna be a lot of redundancy. They're gonna have all these tables that are just slightly different. And that's why I'm almost like, maybe it should just be a region. So let's see, select star from, let's see if we can kind of force the AI to kind of give us something else. Like, select star from regions where parent equals North America. Okay, well, what about this one? Select star from regions where parent equals South America. So this isn't even, I mean, that would work. Like, this is like, from this, like, we don't even need the oh, well, good morning, bird. Like, from this, we don't even need the regions, right? We don't even need like the region. We don't even need the region field. We would just need a region table, and then each. But no, nope, that's not going to work, because parent you can't rely on parent just being the name, right? We figured that out because, like, what if, yeah. Like, what if Washington, so what about a county in Washington and then Washington County? Yeah, that's not going to work. You need to have the region table. Or you need to have it in different tables. You need to have it like this. And if it's a country, you know the parent. Mm, yeah, this is see this is the thing about. I mean, SQL will like it'll creep up on you and it'll get complicated pretty quickly. But then again, maybe this is a somewhat complicated problem. No, it's not. It's just a parent-child relationship. That's all it is. So let's see. Let's go with like continent, content, muscle memory kicking in. So we would have the ID, which would be the primary key, which would be an integer. What is U? Unsigned int. What is AI? Auto increment. Yes. Unique. Yes. NN. What is NN? Not null. Yes. Okay. Add. Name. ID. So name and then nah. See, this is getting well. Because I would what the continents also have factoids, and so you would have a factoid table, but then the factoid table needs to refer back to the region. But then now you have suddenly okay, so let me explain my thought process and what I was just getting at there, right? So the problem is you have these factoids, and I would want a factoid table. The factoid table needs to have a parent, and then the parent, it would make sense to have the primary key as the parent, so that you have a link, an SQL. I forget what it's called in SQL databases, but basically a foreign key. You would have a foreign key to what the factoid is a factoid of, but that implies that all the factoids are going to be factoids of things in one table. Oh man. All right, let's go down the path of region. Oh man, I don't like this. Is getting complicated. Like, I'm thinking of all these different scenarios where this is just like, this is just getting. Okay, I'm going to try and articulate my thought process. So if we go with the region, suddenly our queries are really bizarre, because now we have, they're not bizarre, but you'd have to do something like where parent equals North America and type equals country. Or no. Actually, it would be type continent. Oh, no. It would be country. But where the parent's type is North America. I forget how so my SQL, I'll be completely honest, it's rusty. I haven't really used SQL in probably, the last time I really used it with any kind of seriousness was when I was doing a lot of scripting for my message board, probably in like 2014 time frame. I know the basics. I get my way around it. But you want to do complicated things like, I don't know, or joins complicated. Like, it would take me a little bit. I'd have to read up on them and look at some examples. But anyway, the point here is I would need something weird in here. I don't remember how it worked, but I would need to like select the parent where the parent name equals North America, and no. I would basically need, and this isn't correct SQL, but basically what I would need is parent type equals continent. I don't know if that's proper SQL. I don't think it is, but I would need something like that where parent, oh man. because basically I need a select clause within there. Maybe I'm just getting too far ahead of myself, right? Maybe I'm just like, I might be overthinking it. It again, it's just parent-child relationships. But the question is, do you store there's pros and cons to storing them all in one table, or like, how would I do the factoid? Like, let's look at the factoid, right? The factoid would have the ID. It would have the text of the factoid itself, which in this case would then be a text. It wouldn't have any of this. It would have to be not null. It's not a private key. It's not auto increment, and it doesn't need to be unique. Okay. And then you would have the, I guess we could call it parent ID. And then this would be this would be an integer, but you would need essentially also parent type, because you would need to know, and this would be text. You would need to know what table to go to get the parent. But maybe would a factoid ever need to load the parent? No. So maybe you don't even need these two. Although it does create like orphan. It does create like orphans, right? You have this huge factoid table and you have no idea to what region they go to. But maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, maybe this is good enough for factoid, right? And so you would have, so that's one table. Okay, so we added two tables. Okay, I guess let's add another table. Create table. So now you would have consonant, right? And then you would kind of have the same thing here. You would have ID, you would have the integer, not null, primary key, auto increment, and unique. Obviously, you would have the name of the continent, which would actually be a text field. And oh, no. Okay. This is why you kind of draw your things out. This is kind of why you kind of like, you kind of plan things out. So the problem now that I'm thinking is, okay, consonant can have more than one factoid. So that's where the foreign key on the factoid table would come in handy, because then you could just say, well, give me all the factoids that have this, that have my ID as its foreign key. But you can't do that if all the region data is in separate tables, because then you could have multiple regions that share the same ID. Yeah. Yeah, that's a pickle. That's a pickle, all right. That's good. Axis Gaming says, what are you making? I am making a game. I will go ahead and explain it, because I like explaining it to new people, and actually explaining it helps me think it out a little bit more. Let's compile it. Let's see if it's even in a compilable state. It is in a compilable state. That's good. So the purpose of this game, it is a map drawing game, essentially. So the user will be asked, we'll go to time mode, because that's the mode that works the best right now. Start game. What happened to my monitor? Okay, there it goes. Okay, so you can see here, so what you'll be asked to do is you'll be asked to draw a map of Bolivia, and you see the timer on the right hand side. So you're being timed, right? A map of the USA, you draw the USA. You gotta draw it as fast as you can. Canada's all wonky and weird and kind of like this. Yeah, Hudson Bay up here like that. And then Mexico is kind of like this. Now, none of the mechanics really work really well. It kind of looks like a turd. But then, you finish the game and you'll get scored basically on how well you drew your maps, how accurately you drew your maps, and also the time it took you to draw them. That is the game in an essence. So that was time mode. You'll have countdown mode where you can, I don't know how well this works right now, but where you draw as many maps as you can within an allotted amount of time, which, right now we only have 5 minutes. or 5 seconds, and then free mode. So that's the essence of the game. I might be over engineering this right now, right? I might be. I feel like I might be. I feel like I am over engineering this. Because if we look back at the game mechanics, well, let's go. Let's look back at the game itself. Maybe that'll help put some perspective into this. So where would it really actually, let's go back here, where would it really make sense? I mean, I guess it would make sense actually. Okay, maybe I'm not over engineering, because I was thinking, like, where would it make sense to specify, like, oh, I want a game that consists of all the countries in North America and all the counties of Maryland. I mean, but maybe something like that would make sense, like on this screen, game mode or game settings or something like that. So maybe it would. So maybe I'm not over engineering. Yeah, I don't think maybe I don't think I'm over it. Trick is in the room. Hello, Trick, my good friend from India. How are you today, sir? I hope you are doing well. So, right now we're talking about the game data, right? Obviously, if you're going to be drawing maps, if you're going to be you need to have the game data essentially. And I'm trying to figure out how is the best way to format it. So, again, I'm going to kind of just explain this just to kind of like think about it. So over here on the left-hand side, while you're drawing the map, it's going to also display things like maybe the flag of the country. Why does my monitor keep doing that? My monitor, like, I don't know if you're seeing this, but my monitor has gone out. Anyway, it'll display the map. It'll display various things, various factoids like pop. Okay, I got to quit the game. It only seems to do it when the game is running. Whoa. No, now I can't do anything. Okay, quit. Okay. No, my screen is going blank. When I run the game, my screen is going, it looks like on the stream it's still fine, but when I run it, let me try it again. If I keep it over here. So the screen's really weird. I wonder if it's just because it's an old screen. Because when I try to run, like, YouTube videos work fine, but when I try to do YouTube TV on this screen, which is the one I'm looking at, which is the one you see, when I try to do like YouTube TV on it, the screen goes blank. I wonder if it's just, I don't know. Maybe the screen's dying. I mean, the screen literally is probably like 15 years old. Anyway, as I was saying, we are trying to figure out the best way to do the data, and like what I proposed. I prefer dark mode in Visual Studio. I've talked about this before. I am not a fan of dark mode. I've never been a fan of dark mode. I don't know why. I know a lot of people, they live and die by dark mode. I can't stand dark mode. I hate dark mode. All right. So what we decided, I think, which the poll in the room, oh, no, somebody disagreed. So it looks like I have like 5 votes. 2 people. So the JSON SQL idea that the poll is referring to is, I'm trying to think of ways to deliver the data. Because let's say that this is a game that's on Steam, and you buy the base game for $2. Something really cheap. You buy it for $2, and the base game only comes with the countries of North America. So that's all you can play. And now, say you like the game and you want to buy the Asia pack, right? And so that way you have to draw. So that way now you suddenly have a choice between drawing countries of North America or Asia or both or whatever. But you buy the Asia pack of countries. So I'm trying to figure out like how that would work on the back end, like how that data would get delivered to the game, and then how the game is going to basically use all that data. And so I think what we kind of came up with is the game data itself would be compiled in JSON, or it wouldn't be compiled, it would be delivered in plain old JSON files, right? So the data would be delivered to the user as JSON files, but then the game, it would detect that there was an update, it would say, "Oh, you downloaded some new data files," and then it would take those JSON files and basically build an SQLite database from those JSON files. And the reason the reason we want to, oh, my screen's dying, guys. Like, it's literally, let me show you. Like, this is, look, it's black. This is the screen I'm looking on my right, and here it is. Oh, it's dying. Look at that. I mean, now it's on. I'm gonna put this over here. Now it's on. Now it's off. Was the game running? It seemed to only do it when the game was running. Yeah, I think the screen might be dying. I think that's what's happening here. So, okay, now I have nothing. Now it's coming again. I think so. The point that I was trying to go, the thing I was trying to say is I can't work like this. the screen. Here's my broadcast screen. Here's this screen. The screen that you see. Oh, there goes. There. You see that? You see what's going on? So I'm not making this up. Okay, now it's back. Oi. That's disappointing. I think I'm going to call it a stream because I don't have a monitor that works. Maybe I'll go buy a monitor today. Oh, wait, I think I have another one in the garage. Maybe I'll replace it. But this one looks like it's on its way out because now I have, like, it just keeps doing this. Like, watch. See? It just keeps doing that. That's all it's doing. All right, guys. I apologize about the monitor. I'm going to call it a day. I might broadcast later this week. Maybe like tomorrow, but it'll be in the evening. But if not, then I will be back next Saturday, unless I decide to get drunk on Friday. So I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Memorial Day. Get out, grill some burgers, eat some bad food, drink a little, but don't go too crazy. Stay safe. And I will see you. When will I see you? I don't know. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.